Hello everyone, welcome back to another 4-player free-for-all for Warhammer 2. I am bringing the Lizardmen. My opponents today are going to be the Skaven, another Lizardmen, and then the Dark Elves. No love for High Elves in this one. For my army, we have a total of 5 Skink cohorts. These are the very basic of basic Lizardman infantry. They are very fast. Their melee stats are not that great, but they're also still very cheap, and they can do pretty good if you put them around the flanks and I don't know, stick them on very low and or weak archers. But as a mainline infantry, they're not the best, but I just kind of wanted to go with the skink theme for this one because most of my units have skinks in them. So I got 5 of those, 3 in the front, 2 in the back. The main bulking infantry that I have are going to be 2 temple guards, which again are the halberd shielded infantry of the lizardmen. They are very, very tanky and very good at bringing down large and armored creatures. The other part of our ground forces here are going to be made up of 2 feral bastillodons, which are also really good at bringing down infantry that are armored because of their bonus versus infantry, which I think is like a 15 bonus versus infantry. They are super tanky and really cheap. Only drawback is that the feral bastillodons both have rampage, which means they take a little damage, and then they are going to go off on their own and try and kill whatever is the closest. Joining the other bastillodons is going to be the solar engine bastillodon, which does about the same, or actually does the exact amount of same damage as the ferals. But on top of that, this one cannot go on rampage, and also comes with this missile attack that causes them to be blind for what, 10 seconds? Yes. So for 10 seconds, any target hit by the solar engine will be blinded with those negatives, which is pretty good. Pretty good. They have 18 shots. It does decent amount of damage, and it seems to be fairly accurate. Kind of like what the Luminarchs of Hysh are now. And I haven't really seen it get obstructed at all in my game so far, which is also pretty good. And then the leadership of this army is going to fall onto Lord Mazdamundi with his little skinks on his chariot there and his own personal Stegodon. Mazdamundi is their caster, but on Stegodon he also can do quite a lot of damage to, once again, infantry that are armored or unarmored. The range attack is going to be from these skinks that throw javelins that are poison. And on top of that, of course, we're going to have the spells of Mazdamundi, and the Shield of the Old Ones is an ability that he actually has as Mazdamundi, which you're going to see here in a little bit. It is a giant blue shield that gives everything within it 44 magic resistance and 8 leadership. It's a nice buff, and if you time it right, it can counter a lot of enemy spells. He also comes with Banishment, 2 charges of that. This is not one of the spells, this is just an ability that he has. And we also have the Ruination of Cities, which once again is another ability that he has, which is a wind spell that goes off into 3 different directions, but that you cannot choose, so it will be random. For the actual spells that I took, you have Apotheosis, which is a heal spell that can only heal allies, which in this battle, I actually tried to heal Mazdamundi quite a few times throughout it, I remember. And because this is my first time actually bringing the Lizardman army and using him specifically, and even using the Apotheosis spell. And I remember towards the end, I was like, oh, it's only an ally. This doesn't actually heal the caster. It cannot. It can only target the allies, but it also does cause fear, and it's only 5 mana cost, so that's still pretty good, but you cannot heal yourself, and I thought you could, and, well, I learned the hard way. By multiply clicking on it multiple times throughout the battle, like, why aren't you healing him? Then I read the spell, and I'm like, oh, and I, like, yell at myself. Common Cassandora is a really good spell. If the enemy is not paying attention, it can do massive amount of damage, but it has a very long cast time and travel time, so if the enemy is on top of their game, they are probably not going to get with this, but if they do, they get whipped pretty good. And then the Curse of the Midnight Wind is a personal favorite of the Heavens lore that I like. It decreases the enemy's armor and melee attack for 25 seconds. You can overcast it for a longer duration. And then we also have Harmonic Convergence, which is a very nice single target buff that gives bonus to melee attack and defense. I like all the spells, but on top of all that, Mazdamundi gets the Net of Amatoch, which is one of the most broken, or I'm sorry, one of the best spells, we'll say best spells, of Warhammer 1, and I imagine it's probably going to be one of the best spells of Warhammer 2, because it can net anything, and that is so game-changing. And it did take me a while when I first started playing multiplayer for Warhammer 1 to really realize how good the net spell was. It is one of the best spells in the game, and Mazdamundi has access to it. Besides that, he also has Cold-Blooded, which every single of the heroes and lords of the Lizardmen have a single cast of Cold-Blooded, which you can apply to a ally or yourself. It will replenish your hit points for 23 seconds, but you have to be very careful because it's also going to apply those debuffs. So it's always best to make sure that you target this on any unit that is not currently engaged in melee, because you may actually hurt them more than help them with the decreases in stats that this is going to give you. He also comes with the Sunburst Standard of Hexawaddle. This is a ability that you have to purchase on him. It doesn't, I believe, come for free. But it grants missile damage, or missile resistance and 9 melee defense around him. And then he also gets the Great Arcane Conduit, which most casters in the game gets. And then he can fire while moving and all this other, fun stuff. So that is Mazdamundi. He is a very good legendary lord, I think. Krokar and him are really good for different reasons. So he is our leadership, or at least part of our leadership. The rest of our leadership is in the air, accompanying these Pterodon riders with Fire Leech bolas. Think of them as grenade launchers that deal fire damage, and in a pretty wide area. They're basically just like grenade launchers, but they can fly. They're very good at killing low armored units. That's why I brought them, because we were facing off against Skaven, and they are going to be led by the other two leaders here. We have two Skink Chiefs. Now they can be on a Pterodon. They can also be on a Stegodon. The basically this thing down there, and they are very good on Stegodons. But I really wanted to test them out in the air because they both come with, well, of course they both come in because they're the same unit, but they come with this missile attack that's going to be poison, and it's going to be hard for them to be obstructed if they are flying above their enemies. And you can see here, the missile damage looks very high. It's not that high each missile, it's just because their reload time is only 3.6 seconds, which is very fast, and damage is usually calculated, as you can see there, over a 10-second period, so that's why it shows them as having 445. It's just because they are very fast at reloading and, shooting their little blow darts. They also have okay melee stats. They're still pretty squishy. Unless they're on a Pterodon, Stegodon. So I don't know if you really want to put them in melee against any, elite infantry, but I wanted to test them out. So I brought two of them, and they're going to try and target, enemy lords, big cruiser units, whatever I want them to. Across the way, the enemy lizard player is bringing a slightly different army. We have an entire front line of the Saurus Warriors, the mid-tier tanky, damage-dealy infantry of the Lizardmen. They are pretty good for their price, I think. But unfortunately, they don't have armor piercing. And that's probably for a good thing, because then they would be too good. But yeah, front line of Saurus Warriors. Behind them, we have 4 Skink Skirmishers. These are going to be the infantry blow darts that are fire while moving. They do poison damage on their blow darts. They're not very good in melee, but they are also really fast, so that you can kind of whip around the flanks or do whatever you want with them. There are 4 of them. Mixed in there, we have the 2 Kroxigors, the very tanky anti-infantry, armor-piercing monster infantry of the Lizardmen that can also go on a rampage, which is very unfortunate. They also do exude fear, but no terror. I kind of wish they did terror as well. Then behind those, we have some Cav. We have 2 Cold One Spear Riders, which are okay. Cav, I'm eager to test them against the old races as well. I don't think they're really going to stand up. Like, stat-wise, you can see their melee attack and defense are kind of low. Now, against large creatures, that is going to be buffed because they are bonus versus large of a 14, so they do technically have a higher melee attack against large. And 90 armor is great, and being shielded is cool too, but I just don't think these cold ones are going to hold up against most of the Cav of the older races, like the Vampire Counts, Bretonnians especially, Empire and all that. Hell, I don't even think they really stand up against, High Elf Cav. But anyway, we have 2 Cold One Spear Riders, and then in the middle we have a Cold One Rider, which is just armor piercing. They do a lot of armor piercing damage with 90 armor. Probably would be pretty good against Dwarf, I would imagine. I would like to test these out against the Dwarves whenever, those races are in this game. And then that's going to be their Cav. They have 2 Spear Riders and then 1 Cold One. Then we also have a Krokigar, but not on the Dino. Where is your Dino? It's just you. But even without the Dino, he is still a pretty powerful Lizardman. You can see he still has a pretty high bonus versus large, high damage overall, decent charge bonus, decent melee stats, really high armor. So he's still a powerful bruiser even without the dinosaur, but he's definitely much smaller without that. Then up in the air, my opponent over here took 2 Pterodon Riders, but these are the normal versions, so they're just going to have a poison blow darts, or sorry, I think it's actually javelins that they throw from this guy there. And then also all Pterodon Riders come with 1 charge of the Death from Above, Drop Rocks. And this is like the gyrocopter bombs from the Dwarf faction, is basically kind of what those are. And that's the enemy Lizard faction. The faction I'm going to be facing off first is going to be this Skaven Horde, which truly is a horde. They only have mostly, I think these are all just clan rats with spears. Yeah, so their infantry is just all clan rats with spears, very basic meat shields with spears, basically. Nothing special to write home about these Skaven. They're just there to take damage. They can deal some damage to large creatures, but as their description says, they are a meat shield, and they are pretty cheap and good for that specific job. Over here on the side, they do have 2 gutter runners, which are pretty good firewall moving, kind of like assassin units here. What's really cool about them is that they come with the snare net, which is going to be an automatic ability that they cast, and it's going to be able to slow enemy units around them. So if you stick, cav on them or anything, it's going to be slowed when it gets into a 45-meter range, which is great. I'm so glad that this is on, like, basically an auto cast for the gutter runners, unlike the goblins, the nasty stalkers. They have kind of a similar ability, but you have to activate it, so you have to be really on top of your micro to do that. But you don't have to for the gunner runners, and I think it's an infinite charge. Like, I don't think they run out. Yeah, duration is constant, so it automatically applies to anybody around them, I believe. I'll do more testing, but I don't think they ever, like, run out of that ability. So they're pretty cool kiting units, basically. Their damage isn't super high, but if it was, they'd probably be a little too good. And then they also brought our Skaven Artillery here. We have 2 units of the Warp Lightning Cannons, which are really accurate, really cool Skaven Artillery that's specifically made to counter large creatures and are really good against lizardmen. Their leadership is going to be a Queek Head Taker, which you saw in the last video, but unlike last time, this is actually done on the normal unit size, large size, so you can see his full set of hit points here. And yeah, I kind of covered him in the last video. So it's Queek. I don't think they actually brought a caster. Oh, no, they did not. But they do have also 2 Doom Wheels, which I was sporting in the last video as well. The Doom Wheels, I think, are pretty cool. I hope you see them a lot because I think they're awesome units. I didn't point this out last time, and it may have been hard to see, but in the wheel, not only is there, I think, a Warplock Engineer in there, but there's also just tiny rats also trying to power this wheel with movement. And that's, I don't know, that's pretty cool. I think that's neat. So I'm going to be facing off against them. And then over here, the Dark Elves. Last but not least, we have 6 Bleak Swords, 2 Dread Spears, 4 Dark Shards with shields, a Canine Assassin. In the middle, we have a Black Art Corsairs, which would be the first time we see them. So they are decently armored, anti-infantry, okay damage, and okay stats, especially when they're Murderous Prowess procs. I would be interested to see these, like a line of these against Beastmen. Because I think Beastmen are going to be a perfect counter, or I should say these are a perfect counter for Beastmen, unless they bring a bunch of Bestigors. I think these should, in theory, destroy most Beastmen infantry units. Due to the nature of the stats, they have really high armor, well, pretty high armor, 80 is pretty high. They have really good leadership, they have decent melee stats, and of course that bonus versus infantry up of 7. So I think they should perform well. So yeah, that's a Black Art Corsair, and what else we got? Leadership is going to be the Dreadlord with the sword and shield. I think she looks pretty cool. Right now she has a little light on her, but her mask is really cool. I love the look of this Dreadlord, but this is going to be the physical melee version of the Dreadlord. Unlike the one that comes with the crossbow, she comes with a sword and spear, or I'm sorry, sword and shield. She also comes with strength through spite, so this is going to be a constant aura around her that buffs up the melee attack of all units by +5. Not an insane buff. I kind of wish it was slightly higher to make her more of a good choice to pick, but I guess it's better than nothing. I was thinking more along the lines of, like, the Wood Elves have the Call of the Wild buff, I think it's called. It gives a +8 to melee attack, I think it is. At least give her a +8, like a +5 is like, whatever, but I wish it was a little higher. Then we also have 2 Dark Riders, which are a pretty cheap cav for the Dark Elves. Nothing special about them, they're just very cheap shot cav. I don't think they're terrible or great for the price. Then over here on the flank, but they do also have a Reaper Bolt Thrower, which we have covered in the past, so I'm not really going to say much. Oh, and also a Hydra, by the way. I'm sorry. Forgot to mention that. There's a Hydra off in the forest over there. And these lizards are going to be fighting off at the start, so let's get on with it. As I said, I see the Skaven deployed over here, and my army has a lot of good anti-infantry components with all of these dinos, including these fire bolas, so I am going to go over here. That's when I'm going to see the Gutter Runners coming out of the trees, so we're going to stick our 2 Skink Heroes and the Pterodon Riders on the Gutter Runners, specifically this one that's kind of running out to the side. I want to try and silence the Skaven Artillery that is already doing a ton of damage to these Croc Scores over there. So we're going to try and run our Skinks around some of these Clan Rats, but we are going to get caught here a little bit. But you can see also I enabled these tools. So I'm going to try and run them around as best I can to get into this artillery, but we are going to get bogged down around here by just the sheer amount of Clan Rats. You can see that there are more coming this way. But we're going to stick Lord Mazdamundi, we're going to stick our Feral Basilodons in here, and our Solar Engine is going to be kind of parked right here shooting at Doom Wheels, which you can see are already coming in and already doing a lot of good damage to my Skink cohorts. They just kind of rolled right through, and now they're on Lord Mazdamundi. So we're going to put more Skink cohorts on them, and I believe I stick a Temple Guard on them as well. Here come the Temple Guard. see one of my skinks are already routing, because they're just skinks. They're not amazing. But we're going to get the Temple Guard onto the Doom Wheels. Again, we're going to shoot them with the Solar Engine. And I'm going to try and force my way through all of these clan rats and get to this artillery, which luckily, right now is still firing at the other lizard player. But you can see now they're going to be turning their guns onto me, and they're going to be firing at Lord Mazdamundi. So that's why you see me putting these 2 Pharaoh Basilodons over here. I'm going to try and force our way through to try and silence these cannons. Now, while this was happening, I sent my 2 Skink War Chiefs and my Pterodon Riders on a melee attack against these Gutter Runners, because the Skink Chiefs still okay in melee, especially against, Gutter Runners. And I thought we would rout them off the field. No. In a matter of moments, these gun runners actually shredded my Pterodon Riders and dealt a significant amount of damage to my Skink Chiefs, which I think I applied a cold blood on them, which is why they look okay right now. And so I'm going to actually pull my Skink Chiefs out of here to go over here into the main fight. So now I know double Skink Chiefs and a Pterodon Rider cannot take out a Gutter Runner. And now you know as well, if you didn't already before that. It's not a good idea. I thought we would rout them really quickly, but nope. Instead, I lost my Pterodon Rider so early in the battle, and that really hurts. But that's okay, we are going to press on. Still trying to force our way through the waves and waves of clan rats. We even have more clan rats just waiting for us after we get through other clan rats. Again, they are excellent meat shields. Going to park our Skink Chief over above. I don't remember who they're going to be targeting. Throughout this entire battle, I'm going to have our Skink Chiefs target Creek Headtaker. I have them target Doom Wheels over here, and then just other units around. There goes Ruination of Cities. Trying to do some damage to these clan rats. Getting Mazdamundi over here to join the Pharaoh Basilodons. Back here, my Solar Engine Basilodon is taking out these Doom Wheels, and I do have a Skink cohorts that are going to be coming back here soon. And there you go. You can see that actually both my my Skink Chiefs are targeting Creek Headtaker right now. And there's nothing really to block their vision because they're flying. So we're just trying to snipe them. Here goes a banishment from Lord Mazdamundi. And you can see we are getting a lot of good routes here on the enemy clan rats. Some of them are going to come back, though, right at the edge of the battlefield. And I'm still just trying to brute force my way into these damn Warp Lightning Cannons, because they have already dealt... Look at this damage they've dealt to Lord Mazdamundi. Now, some of that right now is from Queek, but most of this has been from the 2 Lightning Cannons that I've been trying to shut down. This is the buff that I was talking about that gives everything a magic and leadership buff. Looks pretty cool. And we are slowly overwhelming these Skaven Hordes because we have just so much anti-infantry damage here with the 3 Basilodons and Lord Mazdamundi. Not to mention these Skink Chiefs just kind of throwing from above, which is really cool. Our Temple Guard is also mixed in here. We still have some Skinks left. We do have Gutter Runners back here trying to fire into us, but they are not that much of a threat due to the nature of the high armor of all of our dinos. My biggest concern was the artillery, and we are finally shutting that down. We just had to go through waves and waves of those damn meat shields, and it took a while. And right now we're going to get a line in front of Mazdamundi as we continue to finish up Queek Headtaker. You can see that we have isolated him and now have most of our dinos on anti-Queek duty. We're going to try and keep the clan rats away from their leader at this point. I believe this Basilodon actually raged. Oh no, now it's going to rage. And going to try and finish off this Doom Wheel. We have a Temple Guard and Skinks over here finishing off some more clan rats. And Queek Headtaker, actually, we had a lot of Basilodons on him, and he was pretty resistant to that, which is kind of shocking. We are going to be able to pin him down here with some more Skinks. We continue to fire upon him with the Skink Chiefs. And we are rerouting the clan rats. They keep trying to come back, but we're going to keep routing them over here with our Temple Guard and our Skinks. And there we go. You can see that surrounded by dinos and Skinks, Queek Headtaker is going to shatter, which is going to lead the rest of his army to shatter. All the clan rats are gone, the artillery is gone, the Doom Wheels gone, almost destroyed actually. But they are going to rout off the field and be chased off by our Skink Chiefs. So we've managed to overpower the hordes of Skaven. And now we're going to need to try and fight against whoever wins that battle, which let us jump to the fight between the Dark Elves and the enemy Lizard faction. Going to kind of do this one as a cinematic view because I don't know what their tactics were, obviously, because they are not me. But we will watch this battle. You can see that the enemy Dark Elves have pulled all 6 of their Bleak Swords in a single line, and they also got all of their Dark Shards, or they're still doing that. Yeah, they're still going to get all their Dark Shards in a nice single line. The Black Corsairs are actually going to be in a reserve through most of this battle. Like, I know that much. And they also still have 2 Dread Spears as well, and of course the War Hydra. The Dark Riders are off here into the forest, and I think they're going to be there for a while. And there's their one charge of the drop bombs. Off in the distance, we have a Dread Spear currently fighting against 2 of their Cold One Cav. Let's see the hit points currently. The Saurus Warriors are very tanky, but the problem is they have 4 Dark Shards back here that are just going to be peppering them non-stop. But I guess currently right now they're also firing at the Skinks. Also, this War Hydra doesn't help either. And then off to the side there, Cold One Cav was losing a lot of damage due to these Dread Spears, but they did actually manage to rout one of the Dark Riders that the Dark Elves had. And then they have dealt a significant damage to the Reaper Voltor at this point. Now with their Saurus line destroyed, the Skink Skirmishers is now under threat. War Hydra taking advantage of this, getting right into them, or at least trying to. But you can see, even though the Saurus Warriors are running, a lot of the Bleak Swords or the Dark Elves have taken a massive amount of damage. But as I said earlier, the Black Corsairs are still in reserve, still doing okay. Cold Riders have managed to get past the Dread Spears, and as I said, destroyed one of the Dark Riders. The other one is going to be over here. And they have finally managed to shut down, for the most part, the Dark Elf Reaper Voltor. And they're going to be able to kill one of the Dark Shards. Hydra doing a lot of work. I believe the Dreadlord is also mixed up in this. There they are. But the Saurus Warriors, what remains of them, are kind of having a second wave here, but the problem is they are all rampaging at this point because they've taken so much damage. Krakar, meanwhile, has been holding off 3 Bleak Swords by himself, which is pretty good. But at the same time, he's not, you know, on their Dreadlord right now, doing some damage to her. He's just kind of killing a bunch of, I don't want to call them necessarily fodder units, but they're probably not his ideal target, especially since he has a bonus versus large. He could take some of that damage versus that War Hydra. He is going to get some reinforcements here, though, because of the rampaging. The Skink Skirmishers, as I watched this replay before, they were doing a lot of attacks versus the Bleak Swords. The problem is the Bleak Swords have really good missile block chance, so they weren't really doing too much throughout most of this. Although I think right now some of them are firing against the War Hydra. But through a lot of this battle, they were shooting at the Bleak Swords with their shield. Meanwhile, they were getting countered by the Dark Shards. And finally, the Blackguard Corsairs are going to have some fights. Again, kind of let you see the hit points here. The Lizards are having a bad day. They're having a pretty bad day here. They've only managed to shut down one of the 4 Dark Shards, and these Dark Shards just do so much damage if left unchecked. And that is going to lead to a shattering of the lizard army, the enemy lizard army. Kind of cool that there was a Krokar and a Masamundi here. And Krokar's forces was not able to beat the Dark Elves. They did deal a lot of damage. A lot of the Bleak Swords are gone. Or, well, like model-wise, they're still here. But you can see most of their health is gone. The Blackguard Corsairs are still relatively fine. They did lose one Dark Shard for the most part. Their Hydra's still fine. They lost one Dark Rider. And their Dreadlord is still okay as well. As is their Assassin. So these lizards may have lost, but it wasn't necessarily for free. They did deal some damage. And then here I come. And I believe I'm going to be targeting the Dark Shards with what is left of my Solar Engine. Getting my forces rallied up here to try and rally again around Masamundi. Some of them were in Rampage. There goes an Apotheosis, I think? Yeah. Still have 2 of my Temple Guards. I think we still have all of our dinos. Masamundi is, has seen better days. And yeah, I am firing into the Dark Shards because the Dark Shards can, well, they can do a lot of damage. So right now I'm just kind of content with shooting at them for a bit. And now the enemy is going to pull up their War Hydra, and I'm going to take this opportunity to start shooting them with our Skinks. The War Hydra's armor is not that high, so their non-armor piercing damage will do pretty good, although it does have regeneration. And I can see we have switched targets with the Solar Engine. And we're just going to kind of slowly chunk away its health. The enemy now realizes that, like, maybe this isn't a great idea, so they're going to pull back. They're pretty accurate, and they fire really fast. And I believe I should be moving forward here soon. I'm trying to make sure that our Skink Chiefs don't get in range of the Dark Shards. Right here, I believe I'm casting my second Ruination. There it goes. And I wanted to get close enough, I think, to cast the second Banishment. The problem is... yeah, there goes the second Banishment. The Dark Shards are still there. I was trying to be cheeky with these AoE spells. And they do massive damage. Then I was like, oh my god, we gotta go. I was like, we gotta go! Run your slow ass! And Masamundi falls and slides off of the Stegodon. And then I guess, I don't know, teleports to another dimension? I don't know what the hell happened to him. At least we did get a banishment off that did a lot of damage to the Dark Shards, and we are now going to gauge what is left of the Dark Elf infantry here. Luckily enough, we do still have our other Bastiladons, the 2 Pharaohs, and the one with the Solar Engine, which is currently staying back right now. It was still firing. I think I'm bringing it up into melee now. And we do still have our Skink leadership. And when Masamundi falls, I'm actually going to try and spread them out. They do still have an encouraging aura, so we're going to just have them hover over our armies, one over here and then one over here. But I think they are both shooting at the Hydra right now, because that is one of my biggest concerns left. And forgive me if I sound a little different. I'm kind of finding a cold right now, so apologies if I sound a little stuffed up. Look at this massive damage from the breath weapon of the Hydra on our Temple Guards. That hurts a lot. A lot. And we are still just kind of slowly chucking it away with our 2 Skink Chiefs up here. Just kind of casually blowing blow darts as they do. Managed to do an initial rout of what Dark Elf infantry was left, but they have come back and rallied, so they will come back to fight again. And they are, or we also still have to deal with the Dark Riders of the Dark Elves here too. So my biggest concern again is trying to stop this War Hydra. And it has already regenerated through most of its health, so you know it has been healing a lot. Now my Solar Engine is out of ammo, so we are going to have to stick it into melee, as this one is slowly dying. The other one is with what remains of my other Simple Guard unit. So we're now going to have to fight off the other 3 Bleak Swords coming their way. These Dark Riders, I believe, are going to do a rear charge? Oh, no, I think they're going to go after my Skinks. That's what they do. My Skinks that just rallied, I think yeah, there they go. That's a good move. The Skinks are not really made to withstand a shock cap charge, even one that is of a lower grade shock cap like the Dark Riders. But meanwhile over here, the Hydra has a lot of regeneration and definitely has regenerated a lot, but the Skink Chiefs are slowly still bringing it down with the help of the Temple Guards that have been assigned to it. Very slowly, but they are doing it. Meanwhile, back here, we are still dealing with the Dark Riders, who I think is going to rout another one of our Skink cohorts. Trying to chase them down with the Temple Guards, but they do not have the speed to catch them if the enemy is keeping their Dark Riders mobile, as they are in this case. You can see a Pharaoh Bastiladon out there rampaging against some of the, I believe, Dark Shards. Yes, they're rampaging against the Dark Shards. Here come the Dark Riders again to do their recharge to our Temple Guards. We have brought down the War Hydra, and now we're trying to focus on the Dreadlord to take out the Dark Elf leadership. And it is a close fight. We still have the enemy assassin shooting their crossbow into, I believe, our Skink Chief right now. We have Dark Shards firing in again because they came back from routing. I believe these Dark Shards are going to come back from routing again. And now we're just trying to do our best to kill the leadership, as we are holding off what remains of the Dark Elf infantry behind us with a Skink cohort, I believe, in a Temple Guard. Yeah. But we gotta watch out for these Dark Shards because they are the biggest threat now. We need this Bastiladon with the Solar Engine and this Pharaoh one. The other one, I believe, has died or is almost dead. There it is. It was almost dead. It has come back, and I think it's gonna rout again. Skink Chiefs almost out of ammo. They have done a lot of work so far in this battle. Still trying to bring down the Dreadlord, and so now I'm going to divert the Skinks into the Dark Shards because I need to make sure they are not firing. My other Pharaoh Bastiladon I sent into these Dark Shards. I need to just silence them as best I can and keep our dinos alive. You see the K9 Assassin slowly falling to these Temple Guards over there. Dark Riders are still hounding me. Very close fight at this point. And there goes the other Pharaoh Bastiladon. It is going to rout. As this one with the Solar Engine still trying to kill the Dreadlord. It's been at it for a while now. Nice charge into our Temple Guards, knocking them all down. But now they are going to be caught by the Temple Guards as they get up, doing a lot more damage to them. And we are finally getting shatters across the Dark Elf lines. Still have a Dreadlord to fight. Skink Chief is there. Blow dart! Yes! I love these Skink Chiefs on Pterodons. 100 ammunition! Like, it's insane! Dark Rider's doing another charge to try and save the assassin, but the assassin is going to break, and the Dark Riders, I think, are going to break. There we go. And I think that is finally going to lead into a shatter of the Dark Elf army. It was a close one, but we are going to pull out a Lizard Man victory. That is a long fight. But you can see here, Masamundi netting 268 kills. Some of the Skink cohorts did really well. The Temple Guards held into the bitter end. Pharaoh Bastiladons are very cheap and I think worth their cost. And the Solar Engine also did really well. The Pterodon Riders. 1 kill was such a huge mistake. And now I know. Now I know. They can't kill a Gutter Runner with the help of 2 Skink Chiefs on Pterodons. It's not going to happen. For Senior Flippo, the Warp Lightning Cannons did a lot of good damage. The Doom Wheels did a lot of good damage. But for the most part, all their Clan Rats, while dealing damage, they got some kills here and there. They cannot really stand up to the army that I brought. For the enemy Lizard Man player, the Swords Warriors did get a lot of decent kills against the Bleak Swords, Dread Spears, and probably Dark Riders. The Skinks did deal some damage, and the Cold One Spear Riders did do some damage to Dark Shards and the Reaper Throwers. Croxagores, though, this one was getting nailed by the Skaven Artillery for a good portion of the game, I think, until they routed initially. So that was very unfortunate for them, but the other Croxagores still did pretty well. And then for the Dark Elf player, let's see. War Hydra did a lot of good damage. The Dark Shards doing a lot of good damage. And the Bleak Swords kind of trading pretty well against Saurus Warriors, considering Saurus Warriors have much higher strength and armor. Kind of surprising, really. It's probably the menacing murdering prowess. Is that what it's called? Their buff that happens. It's probably that probably got them as many kills as it did. I'm not entirely sure. Listen, I'm still new to this game. I don't know. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the battle, everybody, and let's watch a cinematic view. Hope you enjoyed the battle, everybody. I will see you all in the next one. Take care.